Marjot and I, sleeping through yet another night. Things were a mess. We had Muffalo down, dead everywhere. Marjot put him down, so to speak. So much blood from them aliens all over the place. Never quite finished our floors. So we were going to be busy for the next couple days. I started hauling out all the corn before it could go bad. Had myself a meal. Marjot helped with the hauling. We decided we were going to need a bunch more blocks as well. So we were hauling those down where they were more accessible. Marjot hauled in all the slaughtered Muffalo. I hauled blocks. She had to work with the Muffalo we kept, keep them trained up. I had myself a meal, got back to working on the corn. We were going to need a bunch of steel, supplies. We were going to get all these traps rebuilt. We worked on that a bit before heading off to bed. Both of us feeling a little gross about the dead bodies and whatnot laying around. Some chocolate came out of the sky that night. Somebody must have heard our troubles and wanted to make us feel a little better. Marjot got up first. She hauled stuff in. When I got up, I had myself a meal. Decided to toss some horseshoes for a bit. Marjot was running out to grab that chocolate. And I had to work on the corn. Since we finally got some crops come in here, we decided to plant some hops as well as the cotton and the corn. We were kind of missing our beer stash, so we could rectify that situation. And the place is such a mess, we were still struggling to get things put back together. Draw them stupid aliens that showed up. I was having a meal, looking at the mess in our dining room. Marjot got to the business, building some of our tiles. And then she took a walk around. I was planting the cotton, and I decided to head off to bed. Other than the mess, I was feeling pretty good. And the same for Marjot. Decided to fix our air conditioning unit. It had been installed backwards. I'm a real numbskull sometimes, tell you what. So I got to the business deconstructing that and then rebuilding it. And when that was done, I had some chocolate. Marjot had a meal. We chatted a bit. And then I had to get the hops planted while Marjot trained up the Muffalo. We had plenty of corn, so I wasn't going to plant any more of that. Marjot was working on making rock chunks. I decided to do some mining. And it was about that time some robots showed up. Come right down out of the sky. Fortunately, I was able to make it inside. None of them had landed inside. One of them was giving chase to me. And we took up a position where we could shoot down our trap hallway. Maybe save some traps. We weren't sure how many of these buggers had shown up. So we were shooting them because they were stepping on traps. And we weren't able to save any traps, sadly. And they kept coming. We knew there was 2 left now. And they were creeping quick. We gave that one the business. And the last one, making a slow, merry way in here. Damn thing must have a death wish or something. Well, we shot it up. And it stepped on a trap and croaked. On the plus side, we get some good materials out of those guys, so we weren't complaining too much. After that, I decided it was time to mine some more steel. We didn't want to run out. Before I came in to have myself a garden tea. Get back to work after that. Marjot is hauling in all these mechanoids. And I came running in as well. Just as a bunch of mechanoids came raining down on our heads. Fortunately, Marjot had the foresight to go on in and open up the door. And then we ran behind our guns. We hadn't kept many muffalo. And one of the ones we had kept getting assaulted. Several of them scyther creatures with blade arms. Our guns were going nuts. The damn things weren't dying. They started attacking our baby muffalo and another adult muffalo. And we were shooting them as best we could. Our guns were shooting them as well. There was only 4 of them. We were going to have to put up some new roof where they dropped through our ceiling. We were also going to have to rescue our muffalo. Marjot got right to that business while I had myself a meal and started helping out with the tending of the muffalo. Never a dull moment around here, man. These poor animals, they sure do take a beating. Marjot had herself a meal, brought the muffalo somewhere safe. I was tossing horseshoes. Marjot went off to bed. And despite everything, all the chaos, both of us were feeling pretty good. A lightning storm ignited some of the bodies nearby, but they weren't too likely to burn. Sadly, we were getting so many mechanoid corpses around, we were going to have to build our machining table sooner so we could disassemble those. Marjot kept on working with the animals despite their injuries, and then she sat down to watch some TV. I was doing some tile work. Marjot was having a good time, but we were both surprisingly happy. There's so much madness going on. At that time, a pirate merchant showed up. Some fella claiming he was my grandfather, but I don't believe that was too likely. They had some slaves, and we considered buying them and setting them free. But in the end, we ended up buying medicine, trying to focus on keeping ourselves alive. All the animals we had slaughtered that we'd kept in the butcher room had rotted, and some berries came down out of the sky. We were going to have to stop keeping animals in the butcher room, or animal carcasses anyway. I was debating that. It was sad. We were going to have to chuck them in a big heap rather than being able to eat them. We had plenty of food, so I suppose it wasn't the end of the world. I got them hauled out. There were some traps to rebuild yet. I went off to bed. Marjot joined me shortly after. She tidied up the bedroom before laying down. And when I got up, it was time to feed the muffalo. Looked like they'd all make a full recovery. No permanent injuries. Marjot got up, fed one of the other ones. I did some mining nearby. There was some silver laying about. And Marjot was making rock chunks, turning chunks into blocks that we could use. Found some compacted machinery nearby after I mined out a bunch of silver. And we were finally getting close to finishing our sidewalks. I had myself a meal in our fine dining room, and then I got back to the business of mining. I was going to try and build up a rather large supply of steel. It was about 9 o'clock. Marjot was hanging out in the room, just praying, spending some time alone before she got back, working on the blocks. I was off around mining most of the day. Marjot hit the hay just before midnight, and I went and joined her. Given the rain, we were both soaking wet, but we didn't let that stop us from having a good time together that night. The next morning, we decided we were going to do a bunch of cleaning. The butcher room and the kitchen were a bloody mess. Not that most of the place wasn't, but we had to keep up with it where we could. Marjot got up and had a meal. I got up and had some milk, followed by a garden tea. And then I decided I better do a bunch of cooking. After that, I chilled out, watched some TV for a while. Spent most of the day doing that cooking. Yeah, it was getting a little tiring, but there was plenty more to do. So I got back to that while Marjot hung out and watched TV. Our muffalo was fully healed by then, at least one of them. Marjot worked on making blocks all bloody day. I decided to make her some simpler meals. She didn't really care what she ate, and she preferred simple things in life. Again that night, we had a good time together. I popped out of bed around 7, had myself a meal, got back to the business of making food. Marjot was staying focused on breaking down rock chunks into blocks yet. We were still going to need a ton of them. We had to build some kind of proper security, perhaps double up our walls yet. I did some cleaning in between cooking. The muffalo were outside, busy keeping the grass at bay, and I could hear them muffalo going at it. Wouldn't be long before we'd have more muffalo calves. After that, I got back to mining. Marjot continued breaking down all the rock chunks we dragged in. I decided to chill out and watch some TV. And about that time, a cougar decided it was going to hunt our baby muffalo. So, fortunately, that muffalo was smart enough to run on inside, and that cougar got itself killed on one of our traps. Now we'd have to rebuild that again. I got back to the business of mining out the silver down to the south, and when I got all that done, I hauled as much of it in as I could, which it turns out was all of it. Brought it on inside. Marjot was making decent progress on the research again. And we were both off to bed right around midnight once again. Marjot got up and had a meal, went back to focusing on research. And somebody called us saying there was a prison plot nearby. They wanted some help breaking out. But we figured we didn't need any more enemies. Nor did we need any more allies living with us here. When I got up, out and about and started working, I did some mining. Marjot spent the day researching. I had myself a garden tea. That's enough to keep a fella happy for a little while. And then I had myself another one after hauling in some of the steel. There's still a little bit to mine out there, so I got busy on that. Marjot just focused right on that research. So I finished the mining, accidentally dropped a meal on the ground. I'd have to go get that later if Marjot didn't pick it up for me. And we brought in what steel we could carry. And we decided to chill out together, just have a good time. Kind of love struck, staring at each other's eyes, that kind of stuff. That was a real good time though. And then I had to get up, get off to bed. We had some great conversation. Making hats, for whatever reason, seemed like a funny thing at the time. And when we got up, there was some steel and my meal to haul in. Hopefully it hadn't gone rotten. And we decided to make a smelter and a machining table. It was high time we got to the business, breaking down some of these mechanoids we had laying around, and even smelting some steel. So we did have steel chucks laying about. Marjot got to the business, breaking down those steel chunks, the usable steel, and I made the machining table, and then I got to the business, breaking down those mechanoids, seeing what I could find inside of them. Turns out they make a fair amount of steel, components, even some plasteel that you can reclaim. And Marjot kept right on researching. Once she broke down all the steel chunks, slag, into proper usable steel, I was off to bed. 10, 11 o'clock that night. And Marjot came and joined me. She was feeling frisky. She was really enjoying the research. Really perked her mood up. And in a roundabout way, perked mine up as well. When we got up, there was stuff to haul. We had supplies laying everywhere. We needed to finish the floor in our storage room as well. So I tossed some horseshoes. Marjot had some chocolate. She got to the business of researching again. I was going to work on the floors. I also had to build a brewery so I could make some beer. We're getting close to getting some hops. I came down with the flu about that time, which is unfortunate. But I wouldn't let it keep me down. We had good meds, and Marjot was a really good doctor. There's some people passing by. We decided to leave them be. We certainly don't want any trouble. So I worked on the floors in the storage room. working on getting over this flu as well. And about that time, Marjot started complaining, some kind of buzzing in her ear. She quickly jumped in the sack and got frisky with me, despite my flu and the buzzing in her ear. We had a good night. When I got up, I built the brew table. And then I got back to the business of working on those floors. Marjot was out doing some cloud watching while I was building cobblestone floors. And nearby, someone had sent us some drugs in the form of yayo, whatever the hell that is. So we'd have to run on out and grab that. At the very least, I'm sure someone would be willing to buy that stuff. Marjot tried her best to stay focused on research, and I stayed focused on finishing up the rest of the house. We might expand later, but our goal is just not to have too much crap laying around. I was doing well, getting over this flu. Marjot was excellent tending, and she did some cleaning, popped on into bed. Ever since she started researching, she's about as frisky as you could believe. And I'm not complaining. Decided to make some fermenting barrels in her sitting and chilling out room. So I did that. And right about that time, the hops were ready. Lo and behold, we were going to have some beer before too long. Marjot was working through medicine like nobody's business, constantly having to tend my flu issues. And she otherwise stayed right on top of the research. I had some chocolate, went and replanted the hops. Cotton was getting close to being due. I just sat outside, enjoying the place. It's a nice little area we'd made here. Definitely the finest home I'd ever had, and we built it with our own 2 hands. Next up, I did some butchering, and then I made some beer, and Marjot came in with a big moment of triumph, saying she'd figure out how to make some kind of vacuum crypto sleep caskets, some such. She said she was probably going to need me to build them, but that may not be the case. I told her she just needed a little confidence in that regard. And then she was off to bed. I was busy making wort, put in the fermenting barrels, and then I had myself a meal and got off to bed as well. I'd stayed up late, certainly later than I'd wanted to, but I was feeling like I was getting over the flu pretty well. And again, Marjot didn't hesitate to stay on top of tending me. Marjot decided to take a break from the research and work on some of the sidewalks we were putting in. We discussed just doing standard concrete, but given the supplies we had, and the fact that we wanted the place to be as nice as possible, we went out of our way to do these nice flagstones. So I made some more wort at the brew table, and Marjot put it in the fermenting barrels for me, and they were all full. We were all set. Decided to make a bunch more meals, and then I got back to bed, not feeling well for the minute. Marjot came in and tended me again though, and I figured I'd be alright. Once again, the place is quite the mess. We were gonna have to spend some serious time cleaning here, and once again, we had some fun together in the sack. I was tossing horseshoes that evening after having gotten out of bed, and then I went back to bed. I was definitely recovering from my flu situation. Next day, Marjot was working on the sidewalks, and I had to deal with the cotton, which was coming ready to go, so I plucked all that. We still had a bunch of floors we had to build. Marjot was building a shelf over by our door. The way out of here, we were going to put some weapons out there in case we needed them in a hurry. We wanted a way to make fire, and we took the big explosion. Marjot exclaimed that some kind of real pleasant feeling settled over about that time. And that's good, at least it wasn't that usual buzzing in her ear that drives her nuts. We focused on finishing up all the sidewalks, Marjot was tossing horseshoes as I was laying the last one. And we were going to need some more power around here as well. With all these work tables going. So Marjot was off the bed. I was chilling out outside. And a transport pod crashed nearby. Some angry fella cursing at us. Certainly didn't seem to like us at all. Well, if you don't like us, he can lay there in the filth for all I care. I didn't even tell Marjot I'd heard one come down nearby. She might go rescue the fella. So Marjot got up and worked down the floors, then she worked down the generator. A little more geothermal power certainly wouldn't hurt around here. And then she was back to bed. When I got up, I had myself a meal. I went over there to finish the generator. Changed my mind quickly because there's some real cleaning that needs doing around here. And then I got back to the business of finishing up the floors in our little storage room. Certainly could use some kind of trader to come along. And about that time, a whole bunch of pissed off caribou showed up. We had to keep our animals inside, and I ran on over to close the door. This is going to be like the pissed off pig incident from a few seasons back, no doubt. But we could safely ignore them. Maybe some of them aliens would show up, do battle with these mad caribou. They certainly made a fair amount of noise, I can tell you that. Just running around like mad, bellowing, braying, whatever you want to call it. We were getting damn close to finishing our floors, just a few more little sections. And there was stuff all about the haul. I decided to make some more food. Should I decide to get out on the road again, which I'd like to. Wouldn't hurt to have some meals laying around. Somebody sent us some wart, but with all those mad caribou out there, we weren't in a position to go retrieve it. Felt like some kind of trap, in all honesty. So we had a bunch of repair work to do, and we had some chocolate to eat as well. But we were off to bed at 10, 11 o'clock once again. I could just hear them caribou going nuts out there. Well, it didn't stop us from having a good time together that night. And why should it? This whole planet's full of crazy animals, crazy people. We couldn't wait to be out of here before those crazy aliens show up again. And next day we decided we better do all the repairs on our walls. Those caribou seemed to be able to smell where we were working or where we were at inside. They'd run on over, practically giving chase to us. Marjot said she was feeling inspired for some surgery. I don't really know what that was about, since none of us needed any surgery at the minute. I was running around, smelting up some weapons we had that we didn't need. We'd finally finished the floors in our storage room. And with that, our whole house was completed. Our next focus could be working on building some kind of proper security outside. Well, we were off to bed once again. Another day having gone by. It seemed like all the caribou had chilled out as well. So that was probably a good thing. And we decided the next day we could probably get ourselves outside. We were going to build a roof over where we'd been throwing all the bodies. People and aliens and critters. We were hoping to burn them up so we didn't have to look at them. And that was going to be the next plan. There was a cherry tree in there. I was sad to chop that down, but we did get a nice bushel of cherries. And down to the south, there's some ship chunks I went and deconstructed. Didn't want to leave those laying too long. Somebody else might come along and steal the resources out from under us. So I got that done. Marjot was running around hauling stuff as well. She was chilling out. as I ran on outside, do a little bit of hauling, and then she had herself a meal. There were ship chunks all over the place. We'd let them lie. So I deconstructed them. Marjot was working on pulling apart some of the buildings that were nearby. I was off to bed, and she grabbed as many blocks as she could and came on in. I was a little crabby about the dead people I'd seen, but Marjot distracted me from that terror that night. I found some steel buildings to the south. I ripped those apart. And there were also stone buildings down there. About that time, some kind of unknown ship part came crashing down. Certainly looked like it had something to do with those dirty old aliens that keep showing up. We debated on whether we could just leave the thing there, and that is a distinct possibility. It was pretty close, though. It didn't seem to really be affecting us any. So we'll have to see what happens. So we spent the next few days just running around, taking apart all the walls that were out there, planning on ripping up the floors as well. We're going to need a bunch more stone, so we're going to expand our home area by building some type of defensible situation. And as we were out ripping floors up, lo and behold, a bunch of them stupid aliens showed up. So inside we went. Now sadly, Marjot was pretty far away. She was going to have a hard time getting inside before they got a hold of her. Considering how fast some of those aliens are, they were high on her tail. They were coming at her from two directions. I could hear her running. She was terrified, screaming, and they were catching her. So I decided I better get my ass out there as soon as I could. Not that I was going to make a difference against this many aliens, but Marjot was in trouble. And when I got outside, there was an alien right there. Marjot got attacked by 5 of the bastards. They were all over her, all around her. I had to flee back inside. If we both went down, we'd be surely lost. So they attacked her till she went down. Then they seemed to be distracted. Big dummy me, I'd left the door closed so the aliens wouldn't run down the trap corridor. So they started bashing up the walls everywhere. I had to get that door open ASAP. One of them got a hold of me, one of them fast sons of bitches. But I got inside. Our guns were doing some shooting at me. I had to hide in the corner, let the guns do the work on that alien. The other ones fortunately were falling for the traps. I had to get outside and rescue Marjot. The aliens were bashing on the walls. Wasn't a whole lot I could do. One of them was coming for me. I was going to try and make a break for it, see if I could get her saved. Stupid aliens. Their dirty blood. I was having a hard time walking by a damn thing, so I had to kill it. And they just kept right on bashing on our walls. I could hear Marjot crying out in pain. They smashed through our wall, came running in. And one of them got a hold of me. Didn't do any real damage. Thanks to this flak gear, the guns were going nuts, blasting the piss out of things. And when they were finally all down, I ran on out. See what I could do about rescuing Marjot. I was afraid to look at how bad she was. Her right arm had been destroyed, just ripped right off. That was where a power claw had been. So we were going to have to make her another bionic arm. Hopefully she could make a bionic arm with just a single arm. I got her put in bed. Thankfully I didn't have to use this resurrection mech serum on her. And I got her tended up. I had her gun in my pocket, slung over my back. I had to tend myself as well. And man, was I hungry by then. That was one hell of a rough time. So I dropped her gun in her little kitchen area. She could get that when she got up. Had myself a tea. Gonna need to perk up. And I had to run on over and build myself a sectional wall. Stupid aliens still weren't dead. They're just laying there, not really bleeding out. The damn things heal so fast. So I took care of that, and I decided I'd better get off to bed. Marjot got up, decided to equip her gun. I was trying to sleep, but I was hungry. She was hungry as well. She'd been well tended, so she should pull through. I was scared, crabby, anxious, probably feeling a little more of that caffeine than I'd like to. Seemed like all the aliens had died, so that was good. Dirty old bastards. Marjot had herself a meal. We planned out what we were going to do for proper security, but we still had to deal with that stupid ship chunk. I slept through the night. Marjot worked. She was adamant it's time to get something done around here, and that was how it went. Another day.